All right, we are recording everywhere.
So full storage
Online,
equals
Must be-
what's gonna be in the
I
car.
see Mark, yep, and there's someone else online, so that must be Bruce.
Bruce Black, you online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sorry, this is all the louder I can get. I should have brought a speaker.
I guess we'll call the meeting to order.
Stanford pledge allegiance. That's new since I was here last.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll calls. Vince Pagetto,
Cindy
Here.
Waters here.
Kathleen Anderson here.
Sherry Brusco here.
Morning, Nancy, from Pelican.
Morning, Nancy Smith, PPAC.
European College, USC.
Laura Leroy, Gateway. All right, the speaker on my computer is not very loud, so I'll do my best for when people talk.
Now we'll move on to the public.
I don't have anyone signed up for public comment.
You need a motion?
Nope.
No, to allow them to participate in the meeting?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. It's been a while since I had to do that too. Yes. Somebody want to make that motion
I'd
for
like to make a motion for,
Mark and Bruce to participate remotely due to exceptional circumstances. So if you can state your name when you make the motion and then your name before you second, just for the minutes, it helps Marilyn out.
Okay.
Please
Vince Pagetto, like to make a motion.
to allow.
Allow Bruce Black and Mike, Mark Eversman to participate in the meeting.
Kathleen Anderson.
I'll say aye.
Aye.
Is that a public one?
No,
The bottom one?
no. Just sign up. So, we're good. There's no public comment. They're just attending. Anyone's welcome to watch and listen.
No. Next, approval of the minutes. We approved me.
I thought we did last
I
meeting.
thought we already approved me.
I think maybe you didn't have a quorum, so you couldn't vote.
No, we had a quorum.
Did you?
Again.
Yeah, go ahead. Just do it.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 23rd, 2024 landscape minute meetings.
Was Vincent?
Cindy
Thanks.
Watterson, second.
I'll say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to Vincent Pagetto again to approve the July 25th, 2024 landscape meeting minutes.
Cindy Watterson, second.
I'll say aye.
Aye.
All approved. Take our time.
And, all right, financial. Oh, I forgot to share. Sorry, I can't.
I was looking here.
So here's where you guys are as of the end of July. You meet late enough in a month that I can get you financials for the previous month. There will be some small changes to the financials for next year, after you get past, once we start in October. These items down here at the bottom will, if they're in your budget, become part of this top list there, so they'll be part of like the whole budget. There was some similar projects that were actually split across two areas, and we combined everything into one place next year for all of Pelican for your budget, so it should make it a little easier to sort out. Are there any specific questions? You guys are doing good. I mean, I fully expect you to have a pretty big surplus again.
Mark usually has a bigger handle on all these numbers. He sees.
We do have-
all the tickets.
Yeah, we do have tree trimming coming in
hopefully fairly soon
Should be a-
that will take,
It's all the way up. Hang on, let me see if I can get a different sound coming out here. It's turned all the way up at 100. Yeah. Oh, wait, let me do this at the meeting. Maybe I can do it here. I got it. You got it. Yeah, okay, fine. See if I can turn up my meeting sound. Just
That might be where you need. Can I ask a question on financial?
sure. I might have
And
it.
I'm relatively new. Do we expect, any increases? Like in landscaping?
No, you guys actually reduced your budget for next year?
Because I mean, based on somebody leaving the Ameriscape, I wonder if that would change things. Because there'll be somebody new negotiate, well, I don't know, who negotiates the one?
So here, part of that's what we're gonna be talking about today.
Okay.
That's when we get down to item 7F.
Okay,
All right, try again, Mark. I figured out how to make it louder.
okay, as far as the budget goes, we still have tree trimming coming in, which will be probably $70,000 to $80,000. So that will reduce the tree trimming by quite a bit.
Is that, this is Sherry Briscoe. Is that hard oak trimming or palm?
It's
Or both?
everything. It's oak,
That's
it's
both.
palm, it's
Okay.
everything.
Thank you.
And that should start next week. We got an email showing Ameriscape scheduling when they're gonna start.
And for the oak trees, is it going to be a hurricane cut or are we just doing a trim?
I mean, you would,
This is
It's an
Sharon.
annual,
yeah,
it's an annual cut they do every year that's supposed to mitigate damage from hurricanes, but
Perfect. Okay.
Way back.
Yeah, that's what they
it should be
do.
part of what they normally approve for anyway.
Yeah.
Not as specific just for hurricane. All right, any other questions? Great, isn't that well? We're on to the next day.
So now we're items for discussion.
Consider funding for landscaping.
That would be the Karina Monument improvements.
we received a request from Karina for their monuments, which obviously everything, that's fine. Except if they were allowed to start for this year and get approval right now, there was no way they could get it in by the end of our fiscal year, which is the end of September. So I asked them to submit, knowing that they would not actually receive their approval to go forward until October.
Yep, I have a note on here from Georgia that this was actually moved to the September meeting.
Yeah,
My bad, I didn't look at my agenda. She writes me notes and I don't write your notes. That's my fault. I have a lot of notes. Okay, next topic is.
Appoint a vice chair to the
Yeah, we
landscape
want to do
subcommittee.
this. So what this is, the vice chair, is the person who runs the meetings when Mark is not, or the chair, who currently is Mark, is not present. So that would be someone, there's like, there aren't any other responsibilities that you would take on in addition to what you're doing now. It's strictly someone, it's the second in command. Like when
Yeah.
Chelsea's gone, I'm in charge. So when the chair's not here, the vice chairs would take over. So it's, I know that you guys were not able to do that last time, but we need that. I cannot leave this room without someone being appointed a vice chair.
Cindy Watterson, I'd like to vote Vince.
I was gonna do this.
Congratulations.
Kathleen Anderson, I'll second that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I gotta vote. Yep.
Okay, all,
I say any opposed, then you just.
any oppose me?
All
Vince,
right, it's Vince. Congratulations.
pay raise.
You get another 0 at the start of your pay. All right, now you have some more votes for people to join your subcommittee. I guess it's just one. Susan said she was gonna be on virtually, let me see. Or I have a note anyway.
Is that her?
Nope, that's Nancy. I don't see her.
There's
Or
Bruce.
Heidi, I mean. I see Bruce, I see Mark, I see Nathan and me and Peggy. I don't see her, so she is not on.
See,
Is this Susan Atkinson? Laura,
What?
is it Susan Atkinson?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, I'll say I'm familiar with Susan. She's got a strong interest in landscaping and has actually talked to me about trying to find a way to help in the community. And so I had advised her that we were going to have an opening and suggested she apply. So
oh, there's your application.
another good thing is, this is Sherry Briscoe. Another good thing, she's a full-time resident. Which will be good.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, but her application says she is.
Her application says she's a full-time resident.
Well, I think she's gone right now.
I actually, I know Susan and, they're looking at, coming down here full time, I think, starting next year.
I mean, that was
Perfect.
Peggy, for the minutes, that was Peggy.
Okay.
Peggy Hill.
Peggy Hall.
That's great.
Cindy Watterson, so if we vote her in today, she will be remote until next year? Mark?
No, she would be remote just till she returns, which I think is September, October.
So for one meeting.
Okay, so let's propose a vote on adding Susan Atkinson to the committee,
You making that motion?
making a motion to add Susan Atkinson to the committee. Need somebody to second it?
I second it, Sherry Briscoe.
Let's everybody vote on it. I say aye.
Aye.
Great, 4-0,
Aye.
pass. 5.
Okay, she's on the committee.
All right, we will make sure we let her know. I will task Georgia with letting her know. Next up is your monument upgrades.
Dan. You know, the monument upgrades, is this including the, Daniel said he was gonna start painting them?
Yeah, you can see they're marked off, either paint or LED light conversions completed. So the paint was completed here. These all had LED done, one was painted. Looks like the majority of the stuff on this list was, yeah, that is, I can't get like the community there.
Cindy Watterson, in our last meeting, Daniel was going to start at the beginning of the community and start painting them going back, straight back to the park. Nothing has started. Is there a reason for that?
I know that they originally had started up here at the 4 corners, because that was the highest visibility, but I will have to follow up. I think Nathan is handling all that stuff in Daniel's absence. Actually, Nathan's on, I think he was on. Nathan, are you still there? I don't have my screen up.
Yeah, actually, Mark is running that.
Margins, okay,
Yeah, and he's not in right now.
okay.
Well,
Kathleen,
this is Mark Eversman. What's happened with that is the
It's on our
crew
mark.
dedicates time to wherever they feel that is the most necessary. And I think in the recent past week, they've just been doing primarily cleaning of some sidewalks and some other issues that came up. They've done some monument cleaning just to get the rust off before they paint them. So they're
Yes.
still active in the community. It's just depending on what the activity of the week is.
And I think
That's an accurate statement.
yep, and you all have access to the SharePoint site where there's a tracker out there for the Pelican Preserve time, and there's a tab on there for maintenance, and it shows what days they were here, how many people were here, and what they worked on.
And how do I get, this is Sherry, how do I get access to
It's
it?
on the SharePoint site.
I don't have access.
All right, I'll make sure we send you a link. You do, but we'll send you the link.
Yeah, I just don't know how to get to it.
Cindy
Right.
Watterson, can you send me the link?
I'll have Georgia send it to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathleen Anderson, part of the issue is, and I brought it up last meeting, high humidity. There shouldn't be painting going on because it'll affect the curing of the paint. And also the rainy season, you know, there isn't time enough for the paint to sit on there with what's been going on with the weather. And I think that's been part of the delay in it, along with other things that have been mentioned. But when you're painting outside in high humidity, it takes longer to dry. And the weather being, you know, we've actually had rain when there wasn't any in the forecast.
Bob Gefford, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Sure.
The chairman of the landscape subcommittee is the one that sets the priority and the order in which things will be done, not the staff at the CDD. So Mark sets what he wants done and how it gets done. Mark, you listening to that?
I agree with that, but then I think Peggy has somewhat been trying to prioritize what needs to be done first.
Right, it's not just landscape, I mean, we have
Subcommittee
landscape,
Landscape
safety,
board.
and security.
is the chairman.
Right, all direction for what gets done for each of the subcommittees is taken from the chairs.
And the three chairs meet monthly to agree with Peggy on what they're gonna do.
Okay, Cindy Larson, that brings up something important then. They're going to start installing the lights the beginning of October. Daniel was supposed to be working on fixing these, which Vince now has pictures that they've not been fixed. So Mark, do you need to bring that up in the next monthly meeting, which is September?
Or just tell me, this is Peggy.
It may be
Mark.
that we just haven't gotten to them yet, so.
Well, just so we know.
Yeah, let Peggy know, cause she's helping with the triage and the prioritizing.
No, that's all the receptacles, so we can put the lighting's going up the first week of October. So
The
without,
holiday lighting you're
Yes.
talking, yeah,
without
yeah.
all
No,
the.
they're-
broken
I know they're working on it. I mean, we only have, you guys get, you have 40 hours in a week and we have three, it's a large community with
Yeah.
3 subcommittees giving direction for work that needs to be done.
And then once your lights go up, the painting has to stop.
That's
Right,
exactly what I was gonna say.
they won't be able to do it until after the holidays.
Yeah.
No, the November is when the garland goes on the monuments.
Okay, so.
So you have
December, January.
October and November to paint,
Okay,
because it's not going to affect it.
I know Peggy, like I said, Peggy's coordinating the triage and the chairs are working with her to get them her lists. And this is all, again,
this-
and I know there's a list on the SharePoint site, so after you guys have that, you can go and look. There's a project list with tabs for each committee with what they're working on and everything, so you'll be able to see all that.
great.
This is Mark. I thought Daniel was going to subcontract that to an electrician. I did not think our maintenance people were going to do the lighting electrical.
I know we've got quotes for Bentley to do work over here. I don't know off the top of my head if that is one of the things, but I can follow up.
I know I
I think
talked,
it is.
I agree. This is Sherry. I talked to Daniel, the lights at the front entrance weren't on. So I emailed Daniel if that was something that needed to be on, and he got Bentley in there
Yep,
to take a look at the landscaping lights, which they figured it out. So
they've
that's
been over
why,
here quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah. There's some major work that needs to be done in the gatehouse too. That entire panel needs to be replaced, like the whole electrical panel inside the gatehouse needs to be replaced. There's all kinds of cross wiring and
Okay,
it's not good. That's just part of why you guys are having so many problems up there,
got it.
is the panel itself isn't wired correctly. So
Okay.
they need to basically pull it and rewire the whole thing.
Cindy Watterson, do we need to submit a list, Mark, or do they already have a list of everything that's broken regarding the lights, all the way to Colonial? The
Daniel was
receptacles.
supposed, yeah, Daniel is supposedly working on that. I don't know where he is on that.
But
Should,
he's
This is-
gone now.
should we put
This
an
is Peggy.
agenda?
Yeah, this is Peggy. Can you make sure Mark has the list
Yep,
of, and then we'll just make sure we're not missing anything.
I
Thank
have a
you.
note. Yep, you're welcome. And Mark being our Mark, not Mark Rothenberger, not Mark Eversman, to add to the confusion.
So, this is Sherry Benz. Is it something that we can add to next month's agenda so we get an update? Because we're on a timeline with,
Yeah,
The
the
lights.
lights. I mean, they come and they go to plug them in, there's no receptacle.
right,
Yeah.
right. And then
Okay.
we got the painting coming up and the lights coming up. I mean, we need to have an update every month.
This is Vince again. Would there be any need for me to go climb around and make a note of where they all are broken?
Why
Would that
don't
be
you
helpful?
make sure that the list exists first and I can
Okay.
distribute it.
Because I did have
If
them
you-
yesterday.
If you're volunteering to
I love
check
doing
them,
that.
I'll make sure that the list gets to you then in Mark's
Okay.
absence. I can copy you both.
Awesome.
But, that way, if you wanna walk around and.
I like doing that
See which
stuff.
ones are done or not done,
And then
okay?
it's, the front.
Yep.
Because I know the right side of the
Both
road,
sides.
that.
All the way.
Did you-
I did what? I did.
You're good.
I thought it was something.
And also that you're aware, at the last PPAC meeting, we had, they discussed the streetlights on tree line. We're in the process of making updates, repairs, upgrades to them to the tune of a little over $23,000. And all of the streetlights on tree line will then be turned over to the city. So they won't be our
The
responsibility.
city or FPL?
They will be FPL lights, but we're currently paying the bills and they
Okay.
wanted upgrades done to them before they would accept them.
Okay,
So they don't need to do anything with the poles. They just need to replace the light fixtures on top, and it was a little over $23,000, and PPAC did approve that earlier this month, and so we've got that in the works. To get
Okay.
that changed, and then we'll get those lights turned
and
over.
when is the timeline? to
I
finish
don't
that?
have one.
Okay,
It's FPL.
that's fine. It's all good.
Vince, again, another question about lighting. Pelican Reserve lighting, Cypress lighting. Who's in charge of the timers? Cypress is dark until it's dark outside before they even come on now. They're Pelican light street lights
There must
are
be a
on.
problem with the sensor then.
Yeah.
I don't think they
And
shouldn't be on timers. They should be on.
all the way from the intersection to Karina is dark and it's dark outside.
It might be that one of the sensors is in a place that's getting a little more light than the other one. All right, I'll have someone check.
Because Azura's monument doesn't come on. Solero's monument doesn't come on until the street lights come on, and it's 20 to 9 when they come on.
And Cindy Watterson, there's still a ticket for the light pole when you first come into the community. It's the only light pole in the center, and it's not FPL's because I put the ticket.
I think we're working on that. Yeah, that we're having some major
Yeah,
wiring issues there, if I remember correctly.
I haven't seen that change.
Yeah, no, I've seen that going back and forth for quite a while.
I talked to Bentley the one time, that subcontractor, he said it's a spaghetti mess underground.
Yeah, and it didn't help. Ameriscape ripped up a bunch of wiring up there when they took out some trees too, so that caused some issues. Your community is getting old enough now that you're starting to run into some of the same issues we have in Gateway, where your wiring is just
It's shot.
falling apart underneath the ground. So that's part of why we're switching all of our stuff over to FPL, because they're running on the wire and everything, and then not our problem anymore. All the repairs are on them.
And they're doing it right.
Yes, they're boring and everything is getting done.
This is Bruce Blatt. I have a question.
Okay,
Vince, when you
Yeah.
go out to make your list of failing light fixtures, will you be including the ones along tree line?
Receptacles you're doing.
Yes. Well, I'm looking for receptacles for the Christmas lights.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about, or
Well,
or the street
also-
lights?
Well, no, I'm talking more about the landscaping lights that have been broken for quite some time.
Oh,
from-
I got proof of all that just as of yesterday, just as you pull in the entranceway. Daniel looks like he sent somebody out to replace some of them with LED, but none of them work.
Oh,
okay.
the ones along tree line I'm referring to. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Some have been replaced, some are still broken, some are pointing to nowhere,
Yeah,
but none of them are on.
okay. You answered my question. Thanks.
All right. Anything else on the monument LED grades and entryway lights?
We move on to areas of inspection for responsibility by committee members. Is that where we were gonna break
We were.
There was some discussion about that, yes.
breaking it into like 4 groups?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have 7 people. We could go up to 7 areas, but I was going more 6.
My suggestion
but somebody-
is by phone number. Break it into what you call phone.
Right, that's what we're doing. Mhm.
And if you do 7, then break it down that way as a suggestion.
But is everybody in agreement to take a zone? Maybe somebody's not up to. We have to find out if everybody, like, I'm good. I know Bruce, if he's here, he's
A
good.
lot of the folks that are on this committee have their heart set in doing the right thing. I mean, I'll take the zone, I'll take out on tree line, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to make the community look good. So I guess that would be the first question is who would be in on this?
I
on
think,
the zone.
when we get to this will kind of tie into the next topic as well, because for the landscape contract, Chelsea and I had talked to Mark a couple days ago about this too, because what we did in Gateway, and you don't have to do this here, it's just an option, is especially tied into the fact that you were talking about dividing your subcommittee here into zones, was tying the maintenance and stuff of the landscape contract to those individual zones. That way, if there's a problem in zone one and you're in charge of zone one, you can go out and look and say, hey, look, this isn't getting done in this area. Because the way you have it now is just all of Pelican. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you need to do it either way. You need to, whatever works for you guys. I just pay the bill and you just tell us if it's okay to pay. So I have no opinion either way.
Yeah,
But we in Gateway, because our community is so large and we were having so many issues with specific areas, broke ours down. We actually have 17 zones inside of Gateway. And that way they tell us, okay, zone one, we're gonna mow once a week, you know, they tell us like for the whole year, it's gonna be 42 mowings. And so they send us a schedule saying, okay, this month we're gonna do that. And if they don't do those 4 things, they only do 3, they don't bill us for the one that they didn't do. Instead of taking the whole contract amount and breaking it out by 12, we only pay for work that they actually do.
which I love.
Yes, so, but that takes a little bit more work setting up, when we do the bid, but because we already did it, the template's already there. So it would just be figuring out what zones are where that you guys would want to break those into. And again, I don't care either way. I get a bill, it's a total, I pay it. If you guys say it's fine, so.
Did you say each person a zone?
That's what we had been discussed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't necessarily, I mean, that.
I didn't know I was reporting to the chair.
Well, you would have to
Each
bring that here, yeah, because you guys can't talk outside of the meetings,
Right.
or you would let us know,
Yeah.
and then we wouldn't talk to Mark because.
zone, but I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah,
That's my,
ultimately,
like, because otherwise, it's
Well-
then Mark doesn't, sometimes he might not hear about it till,
or like now when he's not here and he can't go out and walk around, then at least somebody would have that. So again, I have no, from a staff perspective, we have no, for us, it doesn't really,
So
we have no-
here was my thought. This is Sherry. Here was my thought. Since we can't talk to each other outside of this meeting, right?
Mhm.
It makes sense that we're all designated a zone. In that zone, we're responsible for everything. We're responsible for the lights, this irrigation. You know, anything that goes inside that zone, we should be able to put a ticket in,
Right,
whether it's to Gateway or whether it's to
Ameriscape.
Ameriscape, our landscaper. This way, we're not cross breeding our
double dipping. the
requests
tickets.
and
Yep.
our workload, and it just simplifies the whole overall concept of folks just doing one area.
I agree. I mean, you guys have the luxury of having a subcommittee. We have one person that does all of
Yeah.
Gateway.
Yeah,
So, you have that luxury where you can break yours into smaller chunks. But again, it's up to you. You ultimately, as a group, you're responsible for the landscaping inside of Pelican, how you choose to manage it. That's what you're here to talk about.
yeah. So there it is on the table, whatever you guys want to do. We can section it off. We can wait till everyone's back and just section it off.
Vince
So
here.
however
I
you want to do it.
think waiting for everybody to be here, print out the map,
Mhm.
like zone 1, is that start from Walgreens all the way to Bridgetown? Zone 2, from the gatehouse to the clubhouse. I mean, there's some big zones.
There are some big zones, and that's something
Then
that
there's some
I
tiny
agree.
zones up to your subdivision. I mean, that it stops.
And we're
At the
working
circle.
with Passarella to get all of the stuff. They have some information in your system and we have some of the GIS information. So we're working to get that together to show. And with Ameriscape, they're also getting us some of the irrigation, like where all the stuff is.
Yeah.
So we can have a map and say, look, okay, in this area, you have the irrigation is here. You'll know like what needs to be mulched, what needs to be mowed, what needs to be trimmed, what needs to be edged, what, where everything is. So that may help if you decide to go that route. as
And
well.
I think that's a beautiful plan for the reason that I don't know when the irrigation's supposed to be on at the front gate. I watch the front gate constantly. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not, It would be nice to know when it's fertilized, when it's gonna be trimmed.
Right, see, we get that from Mainscape, I think it's every week they send it, they send us their monthly plan, and then every week we get an update. At the beginning of the week, here's what correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan. They say this is what we're gonna do this week, and then they let us know, well, this is what we actually got done.
Okay.
Cause
So-
obviously can't
Correct.
control weather.
They are working on getting an updated irrigation schedule now that we're off the restriction. They're working on that now.
Yep.
And I just gave them a copy of the GIS map that Chelsea had so they can work on updating that as well.
That's what she said, yeah. So they're actually going out and marking where all the stuff is so that we can get that to Passarella so they can layer that in.
So I'm thinking the best thing is just to defer it.
Until
Right
next
now,
year.
you see something, I see something. I
It's
ticket
been going for 2 years.
Yeah,
It's
I've been
not that, it's
ticketing
2 more
them
months, 3 months.
with everybody gone, I ticket them,
So
I
you
take
wanna-
over Bruce's
Wanna
job.
table that
Yeah.
Until like
Table
next
it
month?
till we have
Or-
I
everybody
think
here.
October is when everyone should be back, maybe.
Okay,
That's the only month I won't be here. I'll be in
Oh,
Portugal.
geez.
Man, I
Mark will be
deserve,
back by then.
yeah, deserve a
Is it
vacation.
appropriate for me to make a comment on this subject? It
Sure.
has,
I'm good.
or should I wait till the end? I'm
No,
not.
no, we're talking about it.
We're talking about it.
Okay, so
So
when,
that's Nancy.
this is Nancy, when all of you make a decision on how you want to do this, I think this is okay. I would like to volunteer to join one of those teams to help you, if I can. And if you need help getting volunteers for your teams, I'd like to help you with that as well.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's great.
This is Mark.
Thank you.
If you talk to Ponds, Ponds actually utilizes people that are not on the Pond subcommittee that are just
Right.
volunteers. So if people
Yeah.
want to do it, that's not an issue either way. I'm not trying to get out of doing a zone. And as another note, I do say, if we do find something that Ameriscape is not doing appropriately, the ticket system is what works the best. And in the past year, they did miss one mowing. They notified us that, and it was because of weather, that they missed the mowing, and therefore the bill was adjusted that they missed the mowing. So
Right.
this isn't something new that's never come up before with Ameriscape. But they just handled it by notifying, we missed a mowing, so therefore here's the adjustment.
And that's good that they actually told us that they missed it. Usually we have to drive around and say, hey, you were supposed to mow this, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, we missed that. So,
Kathleen Anderson. Yeah, when I bring up zones, and I had to explain this even in a bill, it's not the intent that that one person is everything to that zone. It makes it more concise. That doesn't mean other sets of eyes on this committee or volunteers aren't trained or can't look at the same things. If I'm dragging out a tree line and Cindy has it, and she's been there, past there the day before in the daylight, and at night, I see a light not working, then I should take it on myself to turn that in. And I wanted to explain that, because sometimes people get caught in this whole box when you,
like, I can't touch that because it's not my area.
Right.
Right.
just to clarify.
Agreed.
You see something we missed, great, report it.
Yeah.
But just, because sometimes I've experienced this, people think, okay, that's just mine, and
No,
if I see something with that person over here, then it's not my problem.
no, I don't
I'm
think
not saying it's this committee, but that experience.
treading into the next zone's fine.
Well, thank you.
All right, so I have a note to table this to October then.
Yeah, I think that would be
Okay.
the
And I
best.
think, the next topic on here is the landscape contract draft, and when Chelsea and I talked to Mark, a couple days ago too, he said, I want to keep the conversations going, so we have the bulk of this ready to go, and then by the time everybody is hopefully back here by October, you guys can actually make the final votes, but I don't think we should stop working on it, I think we should keep tweaking it, because it's pretty big and it's pretty intense. I know Bob had called yesterday and said that he was complaining about how large the document was. So the one that's in your packet here is 36 pages. I looked at the one from 2021. It was 50 pages. So this one is actually considerably smaller than the one that we looked at the last time. Or the one that we used the last time. So we did get it down in size. Even without the map exhibits, the other one was 50 pages. So I'm actually gonna pull up my,
If I could just make a comment, this is Carol Bancroft. One of the things that the GSCDD is also doing is looking at our contracts. And, because Ponds Committee had a situation where they felt that the contract was overly burdensome. It was like 71 pages, and it's like, who's gonna read and respond to 71 pages worth of stuff? So if you see stuff, just because it's in the document that's in front of you, doesn't mean it has to be there. So if you see something that,
some of it does. Some of
Some
it
of it
has to
does,
be there.
yes,
That you can change the scope,
yes,
so.
but you can also look at stuff and said, I don't think it really matters whether they have 2 breaks or 3 breaks, or something like, I don't know, pick a topic. So not only go through the contract with what do we need to have in here, but also, is there something in here that we don't need to have in here? And just use common sense.
And Nathan went through, so, what we did is we took our standard district, bid form. So basically the first chunk of it and the last chunk of it can't be changed. That's all verbiage that we're required either through our lawyer, through law, through statute, that we need to have in place for this. But the part that you do have input on, and we want you to have input on, because this is the stuff that you're gonna have to help make sure it gets enforced, is the specs. So what they did is took that old, or the current contract, took the specs from that and chunked it over into here, and Chelsea and Nathan were in here, and I'm pretty sure that's the right one, this should be the draft one. Have been in here, Nathan put a bunch of comments in here. So one of the things that I'd like to do today, this again is all on the SharePoint site, so I'll make sure you guys have the links. You can go and review it at your leisure. He put in a bunch of comments, and some of these definitely need to be discussed. So these are decisions that will help us refine the document, tweak it, possibly either expand or contract, depending on what you decide to do. But these are some things that even if you don't decide today, just kind of ponder it. We can talk about it at the next meeting, but again, you'll be able to see all these markups. When you go in there to look at the SharePoint site, you'll see exactly what I'm seeing here. So I have this from the SharePoint site. I'm looking at the document right from there. So one of the first comments is, and this is again, something that, do you still want 42 service events? So we consider that like, it would be 42 mowings each time. So that would be something that you need to talk about if that's something you want to keep the same. And same with the 811, which I think that should be in there, because if they're gonna start digging, they really should call for locates, because you might not have had the issues you had with the wiring had they called 811 first. So that was Nathan's first comment. It was, oh, go ahead.
Laura, a couple things. First of all, I need to leave at 9, so you'll see me drop off at 9. And secondly, do you know if the changes we requested on the contract approximately 3 months ago that Daniel was going to have incorporated, are they incorporated into this? Chelsea wasn't sure when I talked to her.
I believe they are. Nathan is the one working on this in the background. He can probably answer that.
Because 3 months ago, and things can always be better, I know that. But we took our old contract and several people made comments as to how they would like that to be tweaked. And as long as those are in there, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Yeah, I don't know if she connected with Daniel, but Nathan, are you aware? Did you incorporate, or do you know if the changes that they requested were incorporated into this? Or are these just our markups?
So these were our markups. Basically, we took the landscape contract that we have at the main gateway, and I took the stuff that was in the old contract and brought it over here. I do know that in the other document, Daniel did have some questions in there. Hold on one second.
That means no.
Vince Pagetto, when we went through that, you were in depth. You were really into the contract. You were you led every paragraph. Oh, no, I don't know if that's all in there.
Plus, we had a lot of discussions, Cindy Larson.
You spearheaded it. You were right on top of it.
I think Nathan's looking great now.
So there
So in the current document in the shared drive, Daniel still has comments on here. So like this one, Nancy to provide verbiage for 90-day notifications, written verbal notice cancellation to give notice, enough notice to solicit ITV and replacement approvals. That was on page 6 of the old document. It's just
Okay.
a sample of the type of questions he had prompted in there, but no changes were made on this document in the SharePoint.
So there were comments in the old one.
Right. There was no
Okay.
actual changes. It was just Daniel's comments.
Okay, what about your suggestions or put in as comments?
So this is Nancy. This is just a comment and a question. As a volunteer, am I allowed to re-review this contract?
This is the responsibility of the subcommittee, so
Okay.
no.
All right.
Cindy Watterson, can we have your notes? Are we allowed?
I
to
think
use
they're
the
in there.
notes?
You'll be able to see them there on the SharePoint.
So in the SharePoint, we have there's the 2024 draft bid form. That's an Excel spreadsheet. A draft RFP. That's
Which is what you're looking at here.
Yeah, that's this one right here. And then there's ones labeled old bid form, old contract. Those are the previous ones that Daniel has the comments on.
So that would have taken all of your discussion and he incorporated that into those other documents with the comments. But I don't know if all of those comments made it into this document.
I don't have any history on if those comments were answered or if Daniel had a separate document outside of SharePoint. I don't know
And-
about that.
But we,
Because he's out of state right now, Chelsea was gonna try to get a hold of him to see if those were put in someplace. I don't have that answer yet because we didn't know about that until yesterday afternoon, so.
yeah, Cindy Watterson, he did the upgrades during one of our meetings.
I'm guessing that's the
Yeah.
comments incorporated into that other document, which you'd be able to see on the SharePoint site, so.
So are we looking at that one again, or are you looking to compare it to your most current and get those comments into the current one?
I would prefer to work from this one and then we'll make sure that those comments get incorporated into this if there's anything that's not in this one. Just because the guts of the RFP itself, the format is what we need to use. I shouldn't say the guts. You guys are working on the guts, which is the specs. But between now and the next meeting, but you'll be able to see all the updates live, which will be nice because on the SharePoint site, anything as it's updated, it's like instant. So you could be in there and things will be changing as you're looking at it if someone's working in there. So
But
we'll
have
make
to
sure
The work again to get the.
you shouldn't have to, we'll make sure that we get that because that was based on what you guys said, that's my understanding that that's what should have happened. And we didn't know with the handout of Daniel not being here. So we'll take that on and make sure that it's done no later than when your next agenda is published, which would be a week before your next meeting, but we'll chisel away at them. So you'll kind of see them filling in as they get worked on.
Can somebody remind me how many, when this is done,
Yep.
how many are we sending out for bid? Or
We post it and then whoever bids on it, bids on it. It's different. We don't actually send this to anybody because of the size of the
Okay.
contract. We post it on Demand Star. And then there's categories that you pick that vendors sign up to receive notifications when bids are available for them. And we just post it and you click a button and all of those people in those categories get a notification that it's there. Of course, we are gonna let Mainscape or Mariscape know that we're going to be posting it. But yes, that's kind of where we're at.
so in that, because I don't know, I'm asking, the Toro system is very important and they should be certified. Is that in there?
That you can absolutely make sure that that's what we need to work on before this goes out. That will be
Okay.
part of these specifications.
Mark,
I think Mark.
Oh,
Yes.
No, 10 o'clock is our time.
is it still where, because we had a fiasco when I was on board in the building, almost cost a lot of money. Isn't it still that somebody has to be certified to work on the Toro system?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, and
Just
that's
to-
still listed in this. That's still listed in this RFP.
Okay,
The last time we went out for bid, we got 3 bids. And we chose Ameriscape out of that. What could be interesting this time is as of Friday, Javier Senior and Junior are leaving Ameriscape supposedly under good terms and starting their own company. So
they
we
are?
may have,
Yeah,
yes.
we were having a discussion before you got here. And Mark, we were muted, so you didn't know.
So do you think they may bid on it as well?
yeah. I do,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do.
yeah.
I would expect them to bid on it as they know Javier Senior knows the community probably better than anybody else at this point.
Exactly. The other knows piping and all that.
So since they're starting their own company, I would anticipate that they may
They
be
would bid
looking to
on
bid
it.
on.
Yeah. I know the last time when we got the bids in, because Ameriscape had never been rebid and they just automatically tacked 3% on every year from inception of the contract. When the bid went out, your cost actually went down quite a bit because they had to be competitive. And they didn't have that guaranteed 3% increase anymore. I do have, oh, yeah.
To that, and moving forward, I'm not saying it'll happen, but I did before, there was a wait years ago and Javier was gone for a while and I dealt with Fabian, the owner. And I fully expect the bid to be high. From my own experience, so get ready. That's all I have to say on it.
I do have some homework assignments. I don't know who, I'm not gonna assign anybody. If somebody could volunteer to take these on and we need these, sooner, as soon as possible, for sure, like within maybe like the next 3 weeks, so that we can have it ready for your next meeting. I need to know, we, not I, the district, needs to know, the mulch and pine straw areas, which will be easier once that map is produced, but we need to know like where exactly you guys have mulch, where you have pine straw, because that's part of the bid, is we list that as a line item in there. And then the palm tree count, which I think Mark said you guys have that someplace.
Actually, Ameriscape sent over their quote. Chelsea should have a copy of that now. She asked me if the numbers were accurate. And the only thing I questioned were the trees along, I can't think of the name of the Sienna. If we're still doing the wall, that was my only question. Otherwise, Chelsea has the count based
Okay.
on the quotes that they sent us in May.
Okay.
And they just resent that yesterday.
Mark, is this for a certain height of palm or is it all the
No.
palm?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, we need a total count.
All of them. And the other comment is, we don't mulch, we do pine straw. If
I
somebody
have
else
mulch,
wants
yeah,
mulch,
mulch slash pine straw, so.
okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't getting into that.
No, I didn't know, I don't remember seeing mulch anywhere here, so that makes sense, like when I drive around, I only see pine straw. So either way, okay, so we need to know where your pine straw areas are, so that we can
Okay.
make sure that we have that included. I think what we did with ours is we had like, we figured out however they do it, square feet of pine straw or areas that needed to be, we use mulch and pine straw. We figured out all the areas to tell them like it's gonna be X amount of coverage you're gonna need when they do their bid. So, that's a homework assignment that we'll need.
Vince Pagetto. But Mark, we do have, when we've done, redone the cul-de-sacs, the Prado one, the Casella one, Solero, we've used mulch.
Right.
I understand
This
that,
is-
and that was what the initial installation was, but I also stated that I would not continue that as a separate
Right.
expectation going forward. We can't have people cherry picking here and there. That's just gonna be
But
an
how
issue.
this is Bruce. So how do we handle the individual monuments? Don't we make a statement that they're all mulched?
No,
They all
it
get
should all
pine
be
straw.
pine straw. The
Yeah.
monuments should all be pine straw. They always have been. And when you see the
No,
mulch,
that's not true. That's not true. They were mulched. The monuments that I'm aware of have always been.
now, since I've lived
Yeah.
here 11 and a half years, they should be pine straw. We had a incident where a different mulch company threw mulch over our pine straw. But, it was at least in Old Pelican, it was always pine straw unless somebody just went out and changed it, a neighborhood.
Because of the areas that I frequent, which is pretty much up Pelican, Cypress, Prado, all the monuments in each subdivision is certainly not pine straw. And if so, I don't think that would be appropriate.
The few requests that I've gotten in for cul-de-sac refurbishing, I've told them if they put down mulch, they're responsible for it, because I'm not gonna start cherry picking here and there, which ones can have mulch and which ones get pine straw.
We
So I've
just,
let them know they can start with mulch, but if we redo it, it'll be pine straw. If they want to mulch, they can mulch.
are we just talking cul-de-sacs or the monuments that are along, Cypress, Prado, what has the pylon with the name of the subdivision? Or are we talking something different? I'm confused.
We're talking anything the GSCDD
Right.
touches.
Okay, so you're saying the Carina signs, the Solero pylons, the Mataritas of the world, the Prados, those are all going to be straw.
If they want us to do them, they're straw.
Okay. So Vince, let me ask you a question. How will you think of Solero since you live in Solero?
We'll just take care of it ourselves out of our budget. I'm not putting that straw mulch down.
Okay. Okay, then I think all the presidents need to know that because from my viewing of the monuments, which I kind of constantly look at, almost all of them are mulch. So, for example, last year around this time, I got an email from a representative Prado telling me they certainly did not want straw. So at that time, it was kind of left up in the air. We didn't know where it was heading, to be honest with you. So I think it needs to be clarified at one of the president's meetings that if you expect anything but straw, you need to provide it.
Vince here again. The monuments are so small, they'll take in no more than 8 bags at $2.97 a bag.
I'm not questioning that. It's the point is I know from my subdivision, they just assume a lot. I've become basically the landscaper for my monument, and I'm going to be coming back for a 4-day short visit next week. And I know I have a chore in front of me as a homeowner that if I didn't do the cleanup, it wouldn't have gotten done.
You're correct.
So, I'm dealing with a president of my subdivision, which some of you know where I live, and I don't want to bring it up by name, but there are others who don't think like-minded as those of us on this subcommittee. So it's got to be made public. If you want anything other than straw, you have to provide it because they just assume since it's a gateway owned property, they could dictate what goes down there. Just like the issue I had with trying to clarify who controlled the sprinklers in my subdivision until I got somebody to step up and admit that they were the ones who controlled it. Everybody just assumed it was taken care of. It's not my problem. I pay my HOA fees. And that stems from the president down. So I think we have to clarify that.
Kathleen Anderson. So I was on the president's thing for 10 years, probably 10 and a half. But with every election, you got the old ones, you got the new one. And it always has to be reiterated. And it used to be a part of Castle doing it. Every time after the elections would usually be in a 3-month period. Because people didn't understand the GSCDD and that those communities didn't own the monuments. And the thing was about consistency. Was it popular? Did people would say, well, the pine brings the wild boars that they had up front by Tiberio one time, or this or that. But, when Mark brought up, if that's somebody's individual's personal thing, my only issue with that is you lose consistency. As people are driving through looking at properties, you just lose the consistency. I guess if neighborhoods want to buy their own mulch, but it washes away constantly. And at one time it was 5 something a bag. And that's not even the organic, like they're supposed to be putting down, because they also don't go buy the organic because it costs more in a smaller bag. And we ran into it in the bill all the time. People thought they could just go and do what they want, but it's the people elected, those boards, those presidents, or then the audience at their own meeting that need to learn about it. But there again, you can lead a horse to water, you know the saying. And it's just, it's a difficult task to get across, but I know Castle used to, like in the spring, relay, like from this committee or the GSCDD, you know, that those monuments go above and beyond, you know, you're not to touch them as a neighborhood. Now, I know things are changing, but that's how it works. There were proper things.
I guess that's part of what I was aiming at, that there needed to be some kind of consistency,
Mhm.
you know, so I agree with you 100%. So maybe I should
I
have
agree
phrased
with
it
the
better.
Bruce, I agree with the difficulty you were explaining, because I sat in those, I didn't know it. You know, and it's so deep. I mean, people would be very frustrated. But even if they would just start, you know, at that meeting, just explaining, and I don't know, maybe the rep, I don't know which rep goes from KW now. And anybody can go to a president's meeting, it's not a closed meeting.
Yami goes,
Pardon?
Yami goes for KW.
Okay,
Yeah, because like I said, I've been in Pelican 8 years, and we had and then I'll use my subdivision as an example. We had a president, the original president, when it was first built, was very anal, is the best way I could say it without anything else, and was very hands-on. The present president that's why we have a management group that we pay. So there's two different attitudes.
sure.
And that's what will, in my mind, and I could only assume he's not the only one who thinks that way, that
Right.
will ruin some of the aesthetics of our community by everybody doing their own thing.
Right.
So I couldn't agree with you more. You just said it better than I did.
I thought you did well.
Oh, I just got a message from Georgia. She said that Susan, who you guys already voted on, sent Georgia an email saying she's in Chicago and didn't allow for the time change. So she's apologized for not being on.
Chicago people.
We'll take it out of her paycheck.
Me too. All right, so it looks like your current specs, this is which we copied, this is from your current contract with the Mayorscape, talks about mulch. And it does mention, there's just a little bit about pine straw, that first sentence on the second page, it says, actually the bottom. Care should be taken to avoid pine straw, so your specs and your current contract actually call it mulch, not pine straw. So I think that's something you'll definitely need to update, if that's what you're gonna go to.
And price wise, areas that are not gonna be pine straw. Cause I just found out the hard way with Mainscapes, they kind of put off on our bid, like massive amounts.
They did what?
Mainscapes, like where somebody's saying, who's gonna get like what areas, that has to be
Right.
backed out because it's already counted in on
Correct.
their square areas, but we shouldn't be paying for something that's not gonna get done.
Correct.
There's not that many areas. There's just 1, 2, 3 big islands and a handful of monuments, and those are small.
And we have to, Aviano Park, I believe Gateway is not going to be taken care of.
Correct.
After October 1st.
Yeah, it's not.
So
our-
that's going to have to be extracted out of the count.
And it's big, that's a big area.
It's a big area.
Yeah, that won't be part of the map, because that's not, well, it will be, but it'll be, I think. Yeah, it'll be, that's not our responsibility.
Right, so that would have to be extracted because it's in this.
Right.
So when this is Sherry Briscoe, just a clarification. So when we take care of the monuments, Do they pine straw the whole entire monument area? Or they only pine straw the backside of it? What
Yeah.
happens to the flowers where the annual flowers are? Because we don't get anything there.
They put it around them.
The whole thing.
They don't put it around ours.
No, they don't. Cindy Watterson, I've not seen that either,
No.
where they.
Well, they
put it
used
around
to.
the-
Yeah,
They-
they should be.
So this is Bruce. They only do it where they plant, at this point, Ameriscape only put the straw down where the annuals went. And so that was, say, maybe 20-25% of the monument. And the rest was left bare, or the remaining mulch that had been there, previously by whomever.
This is
You're
Sherry
saying the
again.
opposite?
So at Aviana Monument, we have flowers in the front, then we have the monument itself, and then I have a pygmy date in the back. The only thing that gets done by Gateway is the back. They
By
just
Mayor's Gate.
by Mayor's Gate, but they, right. So, is the back end where the pygmy date is.
They should
That's
be
the
doing the
only
whole
where it gets pine straw.
Yeah.
Everything else, even the sides where the bushes, none of it gets done.
They
Just
that
the,
should be-
just the back
Yeah, do
section.
it, pick it, that should all be getting pine straw.
Okay,
Basically, my understanding is if there's no grass, it should be pine straw.
okay. And see, that's something that needs to be educated to the committee, because when we have our zones, that's something that we
Well-
need to watch, because now they're getting away with something that they should be doing.
Anywhere that you put annuals, you can't have pine straw.
Why?
You gotta move it to put, they usually bring in new
Well,
soil.
usually the annuals are put in first and then the pine straw, right?
I've never seen pine
I've
straw
never seen pine
on
straw.
any annuals
We
yet,
have it in the front.
not for years.
Right, and and it's work intense to get the pine straw around it. I get that.
Yeah.
However, it's never been done.
And if the flowers come the way they're supposed to grow, there's no room for the pine straw anyway. It's just a
Right.
waste of time.
All
Right.
right, I would not verify where the pine straw is supposed to go at the mine.
See, to me, where the flowers go, it should be mulch. It just should be mulch.
And that's what I do.
Well,
Right,
Our-
and that's where it should be. The
I
mulch
can't say
should
mine.
go in at all the annuals to save on them.
And my understanding is if it's not grass, it should be pine straw. But I'll verify that.
Cindy Watterson, we have to be really clear here, because you're gonna have a landscaper come in and they're gonna say, oh, there's mulch here, I'm not gonna put pine straw. I mean, you don't want a new vendor to be confused as to what monument, am I putting it here, am I putting it there? So I think we really need to.
Right, well, then we need to get
Yeah.
updated, and I think I know the goal of this, once this is all done, and yes, you're gonna have someone who knows the area, probably bidding on it, but this document should be written in such a way that if somebody comes from up in Orlando, has never been to Pelican Preserve before, can pick it up, walk around with it and understand what you guys want them to do. So we can't assume that everybody looking at it knows what they're supposed to do. So it should be,
Yeah.
the specs should be clear enough that anyone who picks it up understands.
Assuming
Well,
Ameriscape has it, they sub out the straw mulching, don't
They
they?
can do whatever they want. I mean.
But that
that's not
usually-
them.
They do.
Yeah,
That's
not-
what they
yeah.
They do.
Most places do for.
They
mulch
do a
and
nasty
pine
job of it
straw.
too.
We had some problems. We had made them go back and do it 2 or 3 times, I think, in a couple of spots.
Yeah, they
Gateway.
do a
Cause they
nasty
they've
job.
subbed it out too. But yeah, so I mean, whatever you guys end up putting in your specs, don't assume that, I mean, it needs to be so clear that even I can walk around in here and go, okay, this monument, oh, I can look at it and go, according to your specs, this is wrong. So.
Right. And you could almost just say where the annual beds are, you mulch. In the
Oh.
contract, all annual beds receive mulch.
Like here,
Well,
it talks
that will be carried through to the workers doing that, I guarantee.
Well, but then.
But it should,
Go back
because it's in the contract.
Cause
But
you're,
where is the line? Is there gonna be a picture of where the mulch starts and stops?
Where the annual bed flowers are, that will be mulch.
That's my question too. How often are the annual beds
well, there, I don't know if you can read
in
it,
here.
it's up on the screen.
3 times a year,
at each individual line?
everywhere in the community.
All get done at the same time.
And
See, we never used to do annuals and all, and I'm talking before the back was built in all of them, because it was cost prohibitive.
this is Sherry, I think the annual flowers should be determined by this board, by this committee, not given to the landscaper to decide.
Cindy
Yep, we did
Watterson.
that in our new one.
I think we did do that upgrade and when we did our upgrade to the contract.
Okay, good.
So the
We
current
need
one.
to make sure that's in there.
Yes.
And yet that's absolutely,
want
that's all
control.
part of your specs. If you say, you know, and during these months, we want this kind of flowers in there, plants, then during these months, we want this. And
Yeah.
And
Put that in
there's,
there.
it's limited with in the summer with the
Yeah.
heat. The impatiens in the wintertime, beautiful.
Correct,
Then they
but
get
I mean,
3
like the
feet tall
colors
and they're
right now,
done.
so
light
dark.
and-
Yeah.
You can't even really see them because they're so dark.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's not a big choice out there with the heat.
But we can pick.
There
things.
is, but
Yeah, different types
But-
for different seasons.
This is Bruce. I know pretty much sure with certainty that Mock was getting final approval. They would check with Mock before they planted
Yeah.
anything.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, I believe I was in on that conversation at one of these meetings where Mark said, we're gonna have X put in at this time of year for my conversation with Ameriscape.
because it's just my opinion, the ones they just recently put, the pentas, the previous application ones were horrible. They just didn't do well, colorless, everything was just horrible.
Sometimes that's all they can get though.
Right.
For pinches, if you go to any garden thing from Naples up and start looking like I do, a lot of times those are the colors out there. But they only buy from certain growers in Florida here. And this time of year, if you go right now, there's nothing out there for annuals. And if you're buying impatiens right now, because I'll have them out, and you spread them apart and they're this tall and the stem is waxy, those aren't gonna live. They shouldn't even be put in the ground. And any landscaper telling us that as well.
Cindy Watterson, I think we should talk to Mark about this since he has the last final say.
Sure.
Right. And we can get down to that part of the nitty gritty that when you guys ask
Yes,
those
exactly.
questions. So, would you like, we can whip through some of these comments, just, give you an idea of what you're in for when you go and, starting at the top. So I'll just go through all the comments that are in there. And again, once you guys, I already messaged Georgia and asked her to send you guys, I actually send it out to everybody because we've had a lot of new people. So the things to think about, the first one here, this comment about, it's kind of readable. The 42 annual events. This next one, the 811, I definitely think that needs to be in there. He asked if it was applicable and I would say yes. The contractor, he said, think this should stay, could hinder work from being done if we have a language barrier. So as long as at least someone, the supervisor speaks English, the whole crew doesn't have to speak English, but as long as there's somebody there that anybody can walk up to and talk and they can relay it, whatever's going on. We have that in ours, that there needs to be at least one person that speaks English, just so that those of us who are Spanish challenged, can communicate. So that was one. There should be, down here.
Oh, can I go back to the 811 thing?
Yeah,
If they don't call and they break something,
it's on them to fix it.
they are responsible
And
100%.
for some, if it's hot wire, not gonna be cheap. If it's ours, not gonna be cheap. You know, if electric, so it's in their best interest to call.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing it anyway. They can get fined. They can get,
$10,000.
yeah, it's
Very high.
we're running into some stuff with the ponds committee where, they found where hot wire possibly, or their subcontractor may have hit some of the drainage pipes into one of the ponds. By 36 where they're working now, that it's been 2 years and it's kind of late to go back, because we can't approve it anymore, but we find stuff after the fact. So, the next one he had on here is there's $200 for each infraction. That's something that we can, you discuss. It's kind of hard to quantify. Sometimes it says if a contractor's designated point of contact does not answer an emergency call, the contractor will be penalized for unresponsiveness in an amount equal to $200 for each infraction. You guys want to do that? Totally leave it in there. Again, comment, just want to make sure that that's something that you still want to do.
Is that what you do for Mainscape? This is Sherry.
I would have to
$200 for
look.
each infraction.
I don't remember what we did on ours. I know, I kind of stayed, I was in knee deep in budget during all of that,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Could you look into that and see
I'll
what
take a
Mainscape
note,
is
yeah.
for us? Just because $200 to a huge landscaper doesn't mean anything.
I think Cindy Watterson, the problem is enforcing it.
Mhm.
You know, you could have it in the contract, but if we.
Last time we just don't pay it. We just deduct it. If they don't give
Okay.
credit, we just deduct it from their bill. If it's in there, that's how we enforce it.
Okay.
But someone would need to let us know. And if they don't automatically take it off, then we would just deduct it.
Infractions denoted specifically.
Yes, that's
Okay.
another one of the things that you're gonna need to discuss. This is specifically for an emergency call.
So how do you define an emergency call?
Well, that would have to be listed in here as well. So there's usually a page of definitions.
Good.
So that would be something that you would need to.
Thank you.
So these are things I'm just trying to get your minds going for comments here. Nathan and Chelsea did a bunch.
Emergency calls would be like, like massive gushers for irrigation, like.
But I mean, is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it marriage?
Well, that would be whatever you guys
Work
decide
ticket?
to.
What consider?
That would have to be defined with the contractor, how they want to be notified for an emergency.
Right, so if you have a gusher at the main, right?
Yeah.
How do you consider that an emergency call? Do you
Yeah.
call them? Do they
Right
have
now,
an
I'm just
emergency
sticking flags and
Tickets.
ticket?
And you would-
tickets.
Is it a ticket? Does somebody watch the tickets over the weekend?
We get notified every week of the tickets. They send a thing and I know Mark can get in there. We can get in there too to view what's all open, what's been closed, what they entered, what we entered, who did it, when it was done.
Okay.
And we followed up on some stuff that they tried to hide and we're like, no, this has been in there since May. You need to go back and take care of this. So again, the whole, how do they contact an emergency? It's gonna be different by vendor. That will have to be something that you work out once you choose a vendor,
Okay,
what their preferred contact method is. And that's when you can list out things that you would consider an emergency, and then it would be up to you to work with your vendor to decide to figure out how they want to be contacted for those.
And there's not that
situations.
many.
no, there isn't, but I mean,
Would be
that is,
emergency.
to me, that's a good caveat to have in
I
there.
mean, if you got a busted line
Because-
and you got water shooting up and there's no way to get it shut off, then that's definitely, to me, that's
That's
an
a-
emergency. So,
Until the irrigation gets turned off and then all of a
Right.
sudden,
right.
I don't know when the irrigation comes on again to see whether they fixed it.
Well, sometimes if the lines are broken, there's water in there all the time, so you would just have water shooting up constantly.
Well, though, that would be an irrigation, a main line
Yeah,
irrigation.
yeah,
Get
That's
that.
what I'm saying, so, great. Okay, so mowing, again, here's the 42, like I was at the beginning of the document. Do you guys have Bahia here, do you know?
The what?
Bahia grass?
I think most of it is just
Yeah.
the same.
Or Tamer St. Augustine, okay.
Yeah. I think so too.
Oh, we do have, is that the new type of grass when they were?
No, it's a totally different kind of grass. The
Yeah, but-
disease is a hybrid of like a St. Augustine
Okay,
type
because
grass.
they were putting.
The other one,
Yeah.
Remember when the disease was a threat?
Bahia is like finer and
Okay.
it's temperamental.
Okay.
no, we don't.
I'm just adding a note.
Improvement.
I'm gonna need new glasses.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can.
Oh, no, it's not your fault, not your fault.
And it's so blurry, I mean, that's the best I can get, otherwise it's worse. The next comment is LSE to, still accurate this year. Bougainvillea, Green Island ficus and medians are to be maintained at a maximum height of 24 inches throughout the year. The removal of sprouts or leaders for bougainvillea is only considered pruning if the heights of the bougainvilleas are maintained to 24 inches and not at a greater height. Selective hand pruning shall be performed between general pruning or cutbacks to maintain line of sight and uniformity. So that'll be something that you'll need to look at and see if that's still applicable. You want to keep that in there. Is this again ornamental grasses? So we'll need to know what's all here. It says LSC to verify grass types. Grass type is in Pelican. If you guys have that type of grass here.
The difference.
Mark would know, yeah.
Yeah, we
There's
did.
like, talk about a variegated ginger too. I think you guys have variegated.
Variegated
right?
ginger, we-
Yeah,
We've actually put a lot of that in
Yeah.
recently.
that sounds awesome. I
Yes.
Really grass, considered a grass type,
What is
the
it?
movie. We used to have some of that that's been pulled out. It's like a raspberry color. It only blooms for a few months in the spring. There used to be some down on the boulevard, but maybe it's gone.
Not sure.
It's like MULHY or.
Then there's some stuff in here about ground cover and shrub maintenance. The different kinds of shrubs, here this Indian hawthorn, holly, viburnum, boxwood, and other similar woody ornamentals. So again, those are things that you'll just need to verify whether or not you have them. in your community. There's a bunch of notes that also says LSC, which is really nice, landscape subcommittee to verify. It says grass type. I think he just copied and pasted his own. So, same with this, the herbaceous grassy species down here, like, garlic, lily of the Nile. Let's see, what's this one? All right, application of fertilizers. Talking about the different kinds of fertilizers, when they need to go in, what gets fertilized, like this talks about turf. The second paragraph is palm trees, the third paragraph is shrubs and ground covers and any other plant material. So again, those are all things that you guys will need to discuss. Obviously the fertilizers with the nitrogen or phosphorus, we have to obey by county ordinance, and that can't be done June through September.
Rainy season?
Yep. Another one, remulching, I think, oh, this is where I was just showing. So this is definitely something you're gonna have to decide, because right now it says mulch. So you'll have to change that out to pine straw, if that's what you're gonna do. And then clearly lay out what areas are gonna be mulched.
I will
Where do you
personally take
expect-
care of that.
Where do you expect the mulch?
I think how that went in there, weren't they using it as a generic term for it?
Well, it specifically calls out pine straw, though. There's
Oh,
care should be taken of
Okay.
piling pine straw around the
Okay.
plant crowns
Okay.
or trunks. The whole thing talks about mulch. And then it says care shall be taken to avoid piling pine straw,
Okay.
and nothing anywhere in there mentions
Gotcha.
pine straw. Input. Seasonal colors shall be rotated 3 times per calendar year, March, July, and November is what it says. So that's again, something that you'll need to decide. Do you want 3 times? Do you want it 4 times? Do you want those months? Do you want different months? So that'll be something. So what's nice about this, I don't know if you can tell as I'm going through, all of those comments on the left hand or right hand side.
Yep.
If you click on one, it'll take you directly to where it is in the document. So, I mean, you can absolutely peruse the entire document, but I'm just skipping through them by clicking on the comments. Like if I click here, it takes me to where that comment is. Crepe myrtles. You guys have those?
Are there,
I'm,
they must be, are they in the old part of Pelican or the new part or both?
I haven't seen them in.
I haven't seen them in my park.
Not in
The
the
old
part.
part, they might not even.
Yeah, there's a note saying that, LSC to verify that they have these. Some of this is stuff that we did transfer over from ours because the verbiage was missing from yours, so they're,
Right, so we need to find out if it's great myrtles. They take a different type of care. If you want them to bloom, that's all I know about.
Correct.
So at least the
And
guys
trimming.
taking care of them don't know the difference.
No, they don't.
so this is, regarding irrigation, it talks about that they need to do the inspections, and we have that pink highlighted area. It says that the contractor shall provide written documentation to the district on a monthly basis stating what dates the inspection took place, what repairs were made, and the locations. We have to have it within 5 days of the inspection being completed. So we need to know controllers and all that.
I mean, Ameriscapes is in here every day fixing.
Oh, Mainscape is in every day by us too, but they don't always fix everything. There was a
Oh,
sprinkler
no.
that I drove by for at least 2, maybe 3 months. Every time it irrigated, it was shooting straight up in the air, and we put in a ticket, and they didn't fix it, and didn't fix it, and didn't fix it. And one day there was nobody around me, so I slammed down my brakes and rolled my window down and took a picture. And then sent it in, and within a day it was repaired. I'm like, so you couldn't figure out where it was. Based on me telling you, I had to actually send you a picture
Yeah.
of the water shooting up in the air for you to go fix it.
We were
So-
supposed to get
I think
flags.
I'm out of them. I put so
Let us
many.
know when we can get them.
I'm out of them. I put 38 flags last week and I ran out of them just on one, on Cypress. I gave up.
Crazy.
My little dog sitting with me and she's like,
No.
I give up.
Don't they do irrigation?
There's a lot more in here than this. These are just like things that we came up with questions.
Like this.
So that's the thing with
Get rid of
the report. I mean, I think it's a great idea that they need to sum up what did they find, what did they do, when were they there? How did they fix it? This next one here is talking about, the visual inspection of irrigation systems weekly at least, make sure that there's no cuts, leaks, damage, flooding, repair is necessary.
Somebody,
It's
but
kind of
does
to me,
it denote in there very quickly, can I ask, does it denote that will be a representative from in here, and a representative from the landscape company?
do you do that together now? I mean, normally.
No, I don't know, I'm just.
No, this
asking.
is all expected of the
Okay.
contractor.
Okay,
This document is things that we're expecting whoever
Okay.
your landscape contractor vendor is,
Okay.
that we're expecting them to do. So
Like,
you
oh,
are
so you
certainly
didn't
welcome
change
to
things.
attend,
Sure.
because I know like when Scott worked for us, he used to ride around when they did the wet checks. and some of the other inspections, he would actually go with them to ride around the community and they would look at stuff together and make notes. I mean, obviously you can't go together,
Right.
can't, not only one of you can go,
Right.
but if you want to do that, or if you know, like if you end up doing the zones and you know that the inspection is gonna be in your zone on this day, you can certainly go out and tag along.
Yeah.
Cindy Watterson, quick question. The highlighted that you just read, are you going to compare to see if that's one of the upgrades we did when we spent all the time on the contract?
I
before?
guess that'll go back and forth. Well, there was the comments that Daniel added to your previous contract will be incorporated into this document if they are not already there.
This is so familiar. That's why I'm.
Yeah,
thinking
no, this is
it's
pretty standard. Yeah, this would have been in there before. It's
Okay.
pretty standard.
So, well, looking at that, will I be able to tell what was added or changed?
We have it tracked for changes, so you'll see, I don't know if there's a spot in here. I think there's only a few more of these left to do. I think actually that might be the last.
They're going to.
That's the last
compare what we
contract.
did Previously to see if Daniel updated it or not.
Yeah.
So
that's I
what
was
you'll
wondering
see,
about
I don't think
about
there's
people
anything in.
Looking at it.
It should be changing it, and it should be like these changes that they put in
Mhm.
should also be the changes that we already decided. It should
Yeah.
be listed as that as
Will
well.
I be able to tell?
Yeah, you will.
Because they'll have decided.
Okay.
Yep, you'll see, well, the notes will be there, and then there's this markup view that I just showed.
Okay.
It'll show, like, if we delete something, or it'll still be there, but it'll be lined straight with
Yeah,
the strike
it'll
through.
be
so
lined
you'll
out.
see that. And any changes will be noted as well.
No, you scroll down to an area which has been driving me crazy lately. And everything drives me crazy. And there's a possibility that Ameriscapes might not get the next contract.
Mhm.
We've got to get after Ameriscapes now. I've counted 60-something damage irrigation covers that the lawnmowers have chopped
And I
on
know
them.
Chelsea and I talked about that this
Oh.
morning, so yeah,
And if we don't have them, they're never gonna fix them.
right.
And the new guy can't be responsible. There's some that I'm just waiting for a Morgan and Morgan moment where somebody's gonna step into the hole
Yep.
as far from the sidewalk.
Yeah, we're working on that. That's all for
Irrigation cover, what are you
the
talking?
box cover.
The box
covers.
covers, and we're talking even metal ones that are chopped in half. Oh, yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Well, I know like Ameriscape or not Ameriscape, Mainscape said that they are their own best customer when it comes to sprinkler heads. So that's why in our contract, they're responsible for replacing all this. We don't pay extra for that. Because they're their biggest customer. They're the ones that do most of the damage to the sprinkler heads. So we were like, well, then you can pay to replace them.
well, they're sprinkler head, I think, but the actual covers,
No, I get it.
and I mean, I have Mainscapes for Solero.
Uh,
Oh, it's just, they're telling me,
they don't care. They just ran.
oh, they're telling me the roots of a Calusa cut the box up. That was the latest one.
I know we're working on because Chelsea and I did talk about, that's part of the maps that they're gonna do for
Yeah.
us too, is where they're all located as they're going around to fix all
Oh, I
those
took
things.
pictures of
So if you have a
every-
list and you haven't
I'll
already
do it
sent it over,
again.
if you could put it together and just
Yeah.
shoot, you can even send
I
it to
love
me.
doing it.
I'll make sure it gets sent over.
So I have a question. When you come into the front gate, you go to the guest side.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of boxes.
Without covers, just wires showing.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is that?
I've never
is
noticed
what
that.
you're- Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
that's,
We're aware.
That was one of my to-do lists.
Yes, we're aware.
where do you think they go? They just
I
chop them
Oh, I
up.
I know they don't clean them up, because I find things all in the gardens and,
Cable,
yeah.
the old cable boxes when we had cable, they're like this. Do you think the wind did that? No.
no, they ran right
Lawn
into
All
them.
the poles the stakes that we put up for our new light poles from FPL, they're all either on the ground or they're bent over from rabbit.
You want one more that I bet you nobody's noticed? The big street lights, they all have 4 bolts holding them.
Yeah.
All of them used to have claw covers. Not
They have
anymore.
what?
They bashed into the metal
Covers.
claw
Oh, to
covers,
cover the bolts.
cover the bolts.
Tap, to go over the
caps,
bolts.
and
They cut off, they.
one
chopped
pole
all the
might have
bolts.
1
Thank you.
out of 10, they're all gone, chopped up by blades. That's a lot of money. They replace them all. I mean, they'll never do it, but
No. But you're right. We need to get on them about cleaning up from what they've ruined.
yeah, because they might
And
not
they
be here in a
destroy.
few months. Same with my street, Mainscapes, where it's coming up for renewal, and I'm bent on getting them to fix the damage.
I think
Yeah.
you have a problem with, you didn't see it happen, and now you have to prove it's their fault.
Well, it was on their watch, correct? I mean, they've had this contract for years.
I
It's
mean,
not like
they-
another landscaper came in and did it.
Are you gonna pay for something if somebody didn't see you do it?
Well,
Or
if
you
I,
can deny it.
if I had a contract with you and it's in my contract that it needs to be in a good place as a landscaping,
The best thing.
they're gonna have to fix
To
it.
prove something like this, the best thing is take before picture and after. And then you still have,
But I don't know, the proof is, it's in the contract. They need to
But-
repair it.
but we bear the burden of proof. I know this because I've gone through it with other stuff. And I never realized until the last several years, some of it's Florida stuff, but we bear the burden of proof. And the only tangible thing is take pictures. I have 30-some thousand in my phone, believe me, it's not family. And it's, I've upgraded. Cause pictures.
So,
Because otherwise, whoever the vendor is gonna say, we didn't do it, prove it. And if we're the ones making the charge, the burden of proof is on us, whether it's right or wrong.
can we add it to the contract?
Like,
Just-
wording, if somebody comes up with wording and we can make it stick, yeah, but, you know,
This is Bruce. Case in point, I pointed out at several of the last meetings that I attended, along Prado, for example, Ameriscape stages every day, every time they're in to do service. And some of their machines aren't very well maintained.
no.
So at one spot in particular, it looks like their yard. I mean, it's full of oil stains, very unsightly. I brought it to their attention. They said, oh, we were in the middle of ordering mats that they would lay down. I haven't been around since late June. I doubt those mats have been ever purchased.
There's no
A-
man. There's
a
no,
second-
that I've seen.
A second case in point, I actually witnessed them churning up some of the common areas with their mowers. My suggestion to Javier was, why doesn't your guy get off his mower and just stomp it back in place? That would suffice, because in time it would replant. He says, you got to understand, these guys are on mowers 8 hours a day. It's very monotonous. They're not watching for that kind of stuff. So the bottom line to this whole conversation is, and I think by dividing up the sections of Pelican, we'll be more observant, is that the contract is only as good as the paper it's written on. And any vendor will try to cut corners where they can. If we show any future vendor, if it's Ameriscape again, that we put the full court press on them, that you must adhere to the contract.
Mhm.
You know, originally where the grass was ripped up, he billed Mark for the sod.
Mhm.
Not until I realized what was going on, so, Mark turned it down and made him at his cost do it. So any vendor who, services a community of ours, of a majority of retirees who never thought they'd have to worry about grass. They know
Yeah.
about that. They know that.
Mhm.
And they're going to push the envelope. So it's us as volunteers on the landscape committee to, oversee the contract by every
Mhm.
letter of the law. And if they don't do it, push, and push. Javier hates my guts because I was the record holder for tickets put in for sprinklers. And so to answer that question was, they do respond to your ticket by a robo response. And they do in their contract say every ticket should be satisfied within 24 to 48 hours. So in defense of Ameriscape, it's been pretty good. But if I never got a response saying we're looking into the issue, which wasn't a robo response, usually took, the second day, I would send another ticket in and say, why wasn't it done? And then finally, it did get done. So my point being is, if we let things slide, they'll let it get away. If we're, adamant about getting things done per the contract, it will get done. But any vendor who's in the business looking to save money, they're gonna cut corners, is the bottom line.
Bruce, I agree, and Kathleen Anderson, and the thing of it is, the email I got today about Ameriscape, Fabian Gomez, who's the owner, and his father started the business. It's cut, 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 he declared he will be attending any meeting, and basically he'll be negotiating, but last week and this week, number one, they were in a field of mowing out on the main part, and it's pouring down rain, mud turning up, all, I mean, common sense. But also, 3 mowers were backfiring. They were broke down. And then a huge Ameriscape truck sat for 2.5 hours. It's a diesel engine. They couldn't get it repaired. Now, there's something leaked all over the road. And I know what's gonna happen. Baby and Mr. Gomez is gonna say they didn't do it.
Cindy Watterson, regarding the tickets, I understand you have the alarm problem. Can we all see the updates to the tickets?
I'm
Because I
not sure
don't.
what you see in yours. I don't know what kind of access you guys have.
Yeah.
I don't mark.
I don't.
Do you see it?
I don't.
Nathan
I
can,
just get a response from them when
Yeah,
I put
and
a
that's
ticket
it.
in my email.
So we never, since Nancy sent, thankfully, one time to us, we got to see the update that is it's a weekly update of all the tickets.
we
And
can
since
forward
then-
that to you guys when we get it.
Yeah, we've
Make
asked
that happen.
a couple times because how do we know they're actually doing the job or we should pursue it again?
Okay.
So that's
That's a
important.
great closing of the loop.
Yeah.
My point, Kathleen Anderson, was about the equipment. If the equipment isn't maintained with any landscaper and working right, then it's not gonna work, and that goes back to the owners. You know, you can have the hobbyists of the world and all that, but they don't own the business, and it always goes back to the maintenance of if the blades are sharp or anything. I don't know how to put that in there, but.
And then something else to think about, and then I think Mark will be able to chime in on this one next time when he's on the call. Right now they're being real stinkers about the warranty, not wanting to warranty things because they weren't on the approved plant list. So Chelsea and I were talking this morning and I think she talked to Mark about this a little bit yesterday when they had the meeting with the Bearscape. If you guys put in a plant and it dies, they come back and replace it and it dies again. They being a Ameriscape agreed or suggested that say it's a $10 plant, that they make a recommendation for another plant of equal value to put in that place that is more likely to thrive where they're trying to put it. So that, I mean, they wouldn't just put in something, they would ask if hey, obviously this kind of plant isn't gonna do well here. Here's something else of a comparable price. And again, they would warranty the replacement plant as well. But I don't think I agree. I don't think it's right to expect them to keep coming back and replacing the same plant time after time after time after time, because obviously there's a problem there that specific type of plant or tree or shrub or whatever is just not gonna grow where we're trying to put it.
This is Sherry thinking outside the box. Could it be that it's not getting any water or it's not getting any
Well,
fertilizer?
that would need to be determined. I know, well, too, the soil is the same all the way over in Pelican, so things that grow in one area may not grow in a different area. It could be a light issue, a sun issue, a water issue, a traffic issue. It could be many things. So just because a specific plant works well out here doesn't mean it's gonna work well somewhere else. So
Correct.
that's why
But
they're
if you
saying
got
that.
5 plants of the same
And only
and you're
one is not
replacing
doing
one
well.
and the
Yeah.
last one is not
Right,
thriving.
and that would be something to look at, but I mean, they were talking like in general, like if you plant a tree and it dies and they come back and put the same tree back in the same spot and it dies, there could be an issue with the soil. It could be that they're just saying that they don't want to keep replacing the same
That's understandable.
type of plant over and over and over again, that they would make a recommendation for something else that they felt would thrive there, that's the same cost as what was put in, so that way they're still accomplishing the warranty replacement, but just not with that same plant.
So with the third plant dying, do they still
I would believe they
continue?
would still warranty that because it's different, because that would be something they
It's adapted.
recommended. No, then that's what you would have to work in,
Mhm.
but that was a suggestion. I wrote a note down, plant dies, replace, dies again, do something different. So that's what we were talking
When
about.
it dies again,
Then you just like put grass there and be done with it.
And on the way to,
And get our money back.
Prado, that there's these little skinny trees they keep putting and they just keep dying. And
So this must not be the right tree for that spot.
Yep.
Right.
they put Christmas palms. They always do well.
Yeah, they grow anywhere pretty much, unless they get.
Christmas
bees.
palms, they don't blow over.
And they're self-clinging.
The experimental trees that we keep doing, like, but if they take, they'll look pretty, but they're the first ones that are gonna go down in a big storm.
Exactly. Let's
they're
just
not
keep what we're
meant
doing.
Yep.
All right, do you have anything else that you wanna, you guys will have some homework. I kind of whipped through the document really fast. And I said, again, we'll work on incorporating the notes from that other document into this document. But the part that you should focus on, because it's the part that you can change, is the detailed specs, which actually start on, in this current document, page 18. That's where they start.
I do believe Cindy Watterson, we did work on that. Do you have an idea when Daniel's notes will be incorporated so that we're all? on
It's
the
a
same
Nathan
page?
question. It's gonna have to be a tag team thing. We'll have to all just like kind of divide and conquer. We're all super buried right now, but I mean, obviously it's important that that gets in there. So, when Chelsea and I spoke with Mark a couple days ago, he said that his goal was to have this hammered out at your October meeting. Because everybody should pretty much be back by then, so you'll all be able to sit down in the room together. But I want to make sure that we keep chiseling away at this so that it's in a pretty good shape, that you aren't starting completely from scratch when you go to look at this in October.
That's my question too, because we did all the work.
Yeah.
So the new members weren't here when we did that work. So why go through that again? Let's see Daniel's notes in.
Yeah.
That we did.
Yeah.
And then-
They'll be in this-
then-
And I was here.
But this particular document is the one that we'll be changing, so look at that document. If you can add to the comments on there, there's a place where you can actually reply. So if there's a comment in there, or a question about something, and you have something you want to put feedback on it, absolutely stick in it as a place you can type and put your input. So if you're something in there that you want to add a comment to, absolutely add the comment to it. This is our working copy at this point. It's labeled as a draft. So if there's something in there,
Where's that at again?
it's on the SharePoint site. I'll have Georgia, I asked her to send it out to everybody because we've had a lot of turnover on the subcommittees. You guys, on our SharePoint site, there's a boards and subcommittees page. And then the board and committees and subcommittees all have their own folders, and it's inside your landscape folder. I'll make sure I have a note. I sent her a message, but I wrote it down too, just to make sure I follow up with her when I get back to the office. And then I will make sure that the weekly thing that we get from Ameriscape that shows all the tickets and stuff gets forwarded to this subcommittee as well. I can actually just put a rule in my Outlook that I'm like, I don't even have to remember to do it. Let's see, so we had a really good discussion on this. I think it was great. That was the last thing on the agenda, as far as items for discussion. Our next thing, sorry, I'm taking over. Vince's job.
Oh, that's fine.
That's the member items and reports.
Does anybody
Which we
have-
pretty much
Already
all
did.
talked, yeah.
So for your next meeting agenda, I have a note to provide an update on those, the electrical repairs, the boxes, the landscape monument things, so you'll be ready for your holiday stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything else besides, I have to table to September would be the Karina monument, because that way I can hold off till after October 1st to put it into the new fiscal year. So that's one thing, or two, the second thing, and then obviously the landscape contract will be on there again. And I have the inspection responsibility that we're gonna table that to October.
Okay.
Oh, I did want to show you one more thing, sorry.
Vince, I have 2 comments.
You only allowed one.
This is another document that's gonna be out there. It says 2024 drafts, bid template, I think is what it's called. So, this is kind of, I can't read this. Is for old people. So this is kind of the format that you guys are currently using for what you have. And I had talked a little bit when we were talking about the groups and having the zones, or just keeping it as a chunk thing that they'll just say, here's your total for the year. They just bust it out by 12 different payments and just paying the whole thing. So this is kind of the format that you're using right now. So the things that will drive what's under that maintenance function column, full service grounds maintenance. It says including trash, debris, limb removal, pest control. What is pest control? That gets into the definitions. How often do you want them there? What pests are you expecting them to treat for? So that'll be, again, this ties back into the thing about if anybody were to walk in here and pick this up, it's very clear exactly what you're expecting. And not because somebody's always been doing it, so they know what you mean. When you say pest control, they're like, oh, okay, we know it means this. We have to define it as if, so anybody can look at it and know what you mean. Complete seasonal color program, we talked about that. It says like including removal, supply, install, fungicide, fertilizer, and if you're gonna want them to put pine straw, you would obviously add that in there as well. The mulch / pine straw, how often do you want it? It says twice a year right now. Obviously, we would remove mulch and just make it be pine straw. And then the irrigation management / maintenance, and things will change on this list based on what ends up in your specs. And so those are things that we would expect them to give us a quote for. And then there's like this other services and even spell on my screen. So this is anything that's not red on here is, we just copy this list from ours. So what we use for the district, any of this stuff as we're going down, and we're sitting here, because I saw it, it's probably at the end. I know I saw it when I was looking at it. That's the things that are in red, that came from your current contract with Ameriscape. So those are items that are on your supplemental pricing. So we figured, since Ameriscape is being such stinkers about not wanting to warranty anything that's not on the list, we would try to list everything on the list, and that way all of this has been approved ahead of time and they would have to warranty it. So again, that's a second document that you should look at. There's 2 things that are labeled as draft. I'll pull up the page so you can see what it looks like. But there's a few more things down here. So anything in red is from your existing Ameriscape contract. Anything that's not in red, as you can see, there's a lot on here, is from our stuff. And then we had some optional services that we asked them to do, like swale reclamation, bush hogging. If they have to buy stone, frost covers, because it sometimes does get cold enough that we need to do that. The spring leaf cleanup. So again, take a look at these things and see the mulching. We had talked about that as a service, but it's also at the top. If they have to come and do it on an individual basis, like if you have a tree, how much, so more stuff to look at. So this is the infamous SharePoint site that I'm talking about. So when you get in, you'll see, I think you guys should see this. There's boards and subcommittees. And you can see there's all kinds of folders down here. So you guys will just go to the landscape folder. And here's all the stuff. So what we're talking about today is in the documents folder. I actually pinned the 2 documents that bid form and then the draft that we were looking at that had all the comments and everything in it. I believe the pins share for everyone, so I pinned those 2 to the top. But if they don't, they're still down here. So if you just look for anything that says draft, that's the 2 documents that we were looking at today that you should go ahead and take a peek at. So once you guys get that link, it'll just take you right to that, and then you can go ahead and look at your landscape stuff. And then, sorry, I think it's in, I don't think it's in here. Yes, this was more of a PPAC request, but this, you can check in here. This is the document that I was talking about, the time tracker. And there's the summary page that shows that these are all the hours that we've all put towards Pelican. This maintenance works tab has the date that they were here, how many of you have, we have 4 maintenance people. So there are 4 maintenance people here, and they put in a total of 26 hours between the 4 of them. This is what they worked on. So you can see if there's notes, like if we were closed, I'll put holiday, colonial monument, handrail painting. So you can see all the stuff that it kind of shows what they were working on here. So, and that gets updated every week. That's out there as well. So you have all this fun stuff that you can look at.
See, Daniel was sending that to us.
I stopped doing it. I send it to the committees now. It's actually going to the chairs, but I should probably send it to the whole committee. So that gets updated every Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. I update it. So it gets updated every week. But it's available here on the SharePoint site under the general. So the time reports are under general. Your stuff is in the landscape folder in the bids. I pinned it. If it says draft, that's the two that we're working on. It's absolutely feel free to make changes, make comments, reply to comments, whatever you'd like to do in there. It's all editable. My husband always says editable. So you can go in there and just please do not turn off track changes or we will lose track of whatever was done in there. So, and when it was done. All right, so there's those three things for now. Anything that comes up that you'd like to have on your next meeting, absolutely send those into the agenda items folder or to the end agenda items email. We will make sure they get on there. I don't have anything additional. Most of my stuff for today focused around that. The bid form or the specs.
So I think in this, as a backtracking, the only question I got is with is it Berkeley? There's like the subcontracting trailer. Bentley.
For electrical.
Yeah, so they're gonna be working on all the lights in the front, the panel. What's their schedule?
I have a note in here about this. I will have to let you know. I wrote it down somewhere. Lighting Bentley, Mark already has list, get the events, it's whatever.
Yeah, because when Daniel had somebody replacing lights, he says none of them are gonna come on because none of the wiring is any good
Right,
to get the lights to come on.
right.
So the other night, the spotlights were on, going up into the trees.
Yeah.
Those were on.
Yeah.
Are those the ones you're referring to?
Well, a couple of them are on, couple
Couple
of
of
them
them are off.
are
Yeah,
snapped,
yeah.
snapped
Yeah,
on.
I've seen the
Correct.
pictures where the wires are just laying there in the grass.
Yeah. The one where they put the new palm tree that had lights on it.
Yeah.
And
Be-
I think when
behind-
Marescape ripped out that oak tree,
Oh, that's where they.
that's where all the lights are,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
all the
did.
wiring.
You know, the new fountains.
Yeah.
Behind the fountains,
Yeah.
there's lights, one's
One
sheared-
side,
one
yeah.
is sheared off.
Okay.
I climb behind walls, I go behind bushes.
Talk to Doug, he found, behind the fountains, they were taking all the old filters and just chucking them behind the fountains. When they brought in a new vendor, the fountain maid, that's why they're not our fountain maintenance people anymore, so.
I have pictures from yesterday of when they weed the beds, they just throw the weeds behind the wall. It's right there right now. All the annuals he put in, all the
All the
holders are behind the walls.
Are you
I
serious?
got pictures. I told that Fabian yesterday, the owner's son.
Yeah,
I brought him over there and he goes, oh my God. I go, no, I didn't do that. And
oh, my crew, yeah,
yeah, he goes, well,
No, there's no excuse for it.
no,
None.
it's all garbage behind there.
and then
That's nothing.
we can actually be very specific about that, about how you dispose of the containers and everything.
You know,
and
it's just drives me
So
nuts.
that's stuff
Yeah.
that you can add into your
Yes.
specs, what's your,
That-
just, it should be what your expectations are, so, of them.
And we definitely need to put them in there because, Marescape has taught us a lesson that you put 100% confidence into these
Well, you want-
landscapers, but you
want
don't.
another
Not
example?
here in Florida.
The entranceway, when you get off of Colonial Tree Line, both sides, the ditches, that's supposed to be weed whacked. Now they'll get, the weeds are 8 feet tall.
The swale,
Back and forth in the swale, I don't know if that's a Marescapes or if that's the county, so I gotta check on that, cause I drive past there every day. And I can't remember, some of it is us. And
But-
some of it is
The
county,
way to look at it, you look at the plaza, they take care of their own.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
think that
assuming
is-
we're supposed
yeah, I
to take
think
care of it.
is. And we usually have to bring that to their.
Because if you don't, there's shopping carts. I found a shopping cart in there once. I mean, they just, one alligator was in there when I was in there pulling the shopping cart out.
Yeah, that's why they didn't go in there. I don't know. All right, so,
I have two things.
okay,
One, Aviano Monument, the flower bed was run over by the roofing contractor sub. And they are going to replace everything.
At least they didn't knock the wall down.
They did not, they missed the wall, they hit the flower bed, and then they also hit the grass across the street. The island and the park have also had sod damage as well. The contractors agreed to replace that.
And they're
So
still not done yet.
they're not done, but they're aware of it. So just to let you know, if you go through and you see it, I'm sorry?
Did they damage the
No,
concrete?
just the sprinkler head and then all the plants that were just put in. And then the second thing on, I think it's Villa Trentino, the one in the front, the monument.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay if I go get a quote to have that re-landscaped?
But it
That's
would
the
have
one
to
in the
go
front.
Into next year's budget.
It would go into next year's budget, but it's just something that I wanted to get working on. Now, we can go with other vendors, but I'll just start with the vendor that we use. And then we can open it up.
And that's the one when you come through the gate on the left that has
Yeah.
no ownership.
Yes, no ownership, no HOA owns that.
I think. we
Well,
need to
has
have-
responsibility.
Right.
Because I talked about it the last meeting and Mark had said that nobody,
So we're kind of responsible for it.
yes,
Yeah.
Eh,
That's the one painted.
no, it's not painted.
Oh, it's the one.
At the very beginning, at the stop sign on the left,
It's the one really stained.
Do you want
very
to
stained.
make a motion? You have to make a motion.
That's fine. I'd like to make a motion to go out for a quote on the Villa Treventio monument for re-landscaping.
Do you want to design it?
I was gonna get a design and just present it,
Very
just,
simple.
just to get the ball rolling.
Yep.
That's all.
I second the motion. Cindy Watterson,
I'll say aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Darcy, get 3.
I will get 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty standard. You can ask 3 people. So if for some reason you can't get 3 back, at least note that I asked this company on this day, they didn't reply.
And just
Yeah.
remember, try to keep it under 2,500.
I will, absolutely. There
That
are no
includes-
bones about that.
And if you want to save money, this is what I do before. I'm the guy that goes for free and tears everything out.
No, I work a full-time job. Actually, I have to go see my boss at 11
there-
o'clock. I gotta
My,
leave.
my one last thing before we leave, is there anybody that's not gonna be here next month? Can we get to make sure I have room to.
Next month is good.
I'm
Good.
here.
Good.
I'm here. Okay, all right.
It's the same bunch.
Yeah, take.
And you're invited.
We can talk about that in September.
All
right.
So I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it. Sherry Briscoe.
Right, it is 10:51.
Depends where you are.
10:51 our time. Thank you.
Training starting in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta get back to my car. I should make it back to the office just in time.
So Vince, on the list that you're putting together of the